Hi, Marilyn O'Malley here, and today I want to talk about being highly sensitive and a starseed in regards of feeling out of control or feeling we have to be controlling in order to not feel out of control. So this is a really big topic, and so I have three areas that I'm going to cover. One is fears, one is perfectionism, and one is living from the outside in. But first I want to start with that what you're going to get out of this also is learning how and where to manage what you need to manage, what you need to be in control of in order to not feel so out of control and not trying to control out there and realizing that you are the one that you have to manage, and that makes this outside world much more able to control. So first I want to say one of the reasons that we can feel so out of control is because of our highly sensitive selves, and that we're so aware of so many things, so many more things than people who are not sensitive, that we try to control our environment, and we get overstimulated. We have a highly creative mind that can take off like a wild stallion out of control and either take you down the path of like from something happening or something you imagine in your mind to your death, or to something, you know, the most spectacular thing that you could ever think of that you create in seconds. And that is very overwhelming and overstimulating, and can be anxiety, drive you to anxiety, drive you to fears, drive you to just feeling like a victim, like everything's coming at you. And so those are some of the things that you have to learn how to manage as a sensitive, and then the world won't seem so imposing on you. And I'll get to that in a second. So let me just check in 1 minute and let's see if so the other thing is that we pick up on a lot of things, our empathic natures, but also just we're aware of a lot more that's going on around us, the subtleties in our environment, the subtleties, somebody blinking or looking another way, and all of a sudden our minds off that wild stallion gets, reared up, and it starts taking off in all directions. And we start searching for meaning and understanding and all of this other, what's going on, what are they thinking, instead of just realizing that our mind went racing off, and it's out of control. And so now we're going to take ourselves through all these different emotions that make us feel out of control. The other thing where we feel out of control, so you probably all can relate to this and get a little giggle out of it, is that like we have to feel like we're in control. So if we go to a party or we go to an event, we like to drive ourselves or be able to leave when we want. We don't want other people in control of our time and our energy. We like to be able to, go out, and then if we feel overwhelmed or overstimulated or whatever, to be able to leave and take care of ourselves, to feel in control that way. Now that is good, but sometimes we won't give up control, even when we have control, because we think that we have to be in control all the time, or we're going to be inundated with all this information. So I just want you to see that sometimes, you know what, I'm just going to go into, and that will help to explain. I'm just going to go into my three subjects. So one is, so we're going to look at fear first. And so fear comes up for us, right, out of all those things, like fear that we're going to be overwhelmed, fear that we're going to feel pain, that we're going to die, that we're not enough, we're unlovable, we're unworthy, You don't want something to happen. You feel like you don't want to be humiliated. You don't want to be shamed. You might fear that you don't matter, that you'll lose yourself in a relationship or in a job, that you will experience or re-experience a trauma or a challenge that you've had before. So all of these things, so the fears that come up, you know, and there are real fears. So I'm talking about the fears that aren't real, that are in that very highly creative mind that we've created, or ways that we're protecting ourselves to make ourselves feel safe that we did as a little kid that you no longer need to do that today. And so I want you to just start to observe um, when you feel out of control, around these fears, right? So if something comes up and you have this fear, is it a fear that I'm not enough? You know, are you feeling like you have to control something or take charge or manipulate? Because controlling is manipulating too, right? So even though we're good spiritual, you know, positive people, but we're also we're everything. We're all of the emotions, and we have all sorts of different aspects of ourselves. And the thing is that we will do what we have to do in order to feel safe. And it's important for you to realize that. And you've made choices as a child that you're still doing, habits. They'll feel like it's you making that choice, or they're the habits that you're doing, and there's a reason for doing it because you've been doing it forever and it makes you feel comfortable because you know it. But that's one of the things that you're going to have to start noticing. Why am I doing this? Does it serve me? Am I doing this out of fear? And what fear is it that I'm doing this out of, right? Am I afraid for my life? Again, am I wanting? Am I afraid that I will be unlovable, so I'll become a people pleaser, right? So just be aware of when you're feeling out of control. And so, is it your mind? Is it your energy? You're not managing your energy. And I'll talk a little bit about that shortly here. Is it habit? And then what of the fears? So just so you can become aware and see what's running your life, and what's keeping you from feeling empowered to make choices, and for you to feel in control of you, and then you can handle most of that stuff that's out there. You can have clear boundaries. You can know when you've had enough, and without having to manipulate or control, do whatever you need to take care of yourself. Okay, so the next thing is perfectionism, and you're going to see all of these things overlap because you became a perfectionist because of your fears, because of the fears that I just said. You became a perfectionist because you thought if you were good enough, then you would get what you wanted and needed from your a family member or friends, or whatever the circumstances were. Or bad things wouldn't happen to you if you did ABC, all these different things. But when we're perfectionists, we are limiting ourselves, and perfectionism is a habit. So it's a habit you can break. And I had this. And I think most sensitives and starseeds do have this because we've grown up in dysfunctional families, which most people have, but a lot of us with narcissists. And so the narcissist always makes you feel like you're not enough. And so you just get, well, if I get perfect enough, if I do this right, if I do everything in the right order, the right way, then I'll get all my needs met and I'll feel good about myself. So I won't have the fears, and I can relax, right? I can relax, and I won't feel I won't feel out of control. And so perfectionism is like trying to control things, trying to control how people see us, how we are perceived in the world. We want people to see us as strong and as controlling. We want to control. This is really important. Like, we won't, nobody can do it the way that we can do it. The one thing where we feel a lot out of control, and that stops us and limits us. Perfectionism limits you. It makes you small. It's really important that you learn to become comfortable with the unknown and not have to feel always in control of what's out here or what's going to happen, or making sure that you know what's happening, because a perfectionist wants to know what the outcome's going to be before they even take an attempt to move towards something. But that isn't how the world works, and it's like there's no faith. There's no faith in you. There's no faith in this bigger picture here. So perfectionism makes your world really small, and it takes away your creativity, and you're living out of fear. So it's like the fear is underneath this perfectionism that's on top. So perfectionism is wanting to prevent shame, humiliation, people disliking you, feeling unworthy, unlovable, not enough, weak. A lot of us sensitives grew up, or starseeds felt weak because we were so different from everybody else. How can all these people tolerate? How can they put up with these things? Or other names, or just different. Why are we so different and not feeling, valued the way that we should? We also, when you're perfectionist, you're in defensive mode. You're on high alert. So again, you're wanting to prevent and fix, and so that's your inner child is a lot of times your perfectionist is wanting to fix things that went wrong, and it wanting to prevent things from going wrong in the future. And so it's on, what do I do? You're never relaxing. You can never be you, and the chatter in the head is forever, and that's overwhelming. And again, that's where you need to control, because now you can't hear your intuition come in. You can't use your higher selves for guidance. You can't feel what's in your heart, because the fear is driving everything. You're thinking. A lot of all of this is thinking, where I want you down, feeling into the moment. Feeling what you're feeling that I'm feeling like I'm not enough, feeling your fears, feeling those things and going through it, and you'll soon realize that you are not those feelings. You are not unlovable. You are not enough. You are not shame or humiliation. Let's see. So perfectionists are also very manipulative. That's just where you're wanting to control things. You're wanting to control situations so that you look good in the outcome, and that and people see you a certain way, and you see yourself a certain way, but you never feel that way. You always feel like you're in this war in a sense. You're always like, you can't let your guard down, and that is totally draining, and you can't do that anymore. We're in a totally different time. That's not going to work for you anymore. It will deplete you. Your energy will be wiped out. You're here to be empowered, and that's all the perfectionists. All these things I'm talking about are not to take you down. They're to help you wake up and see what you're doing. So again, I want you to become alert and observe, how am I being a perfectionist? A lot of people I know, if you watch me, most likely you are a perfectionist, and some people would say, no, I'm not a perfectionist, and then I ask a few questions, or we go over some of this, and then all of a sudden you see you're trying to control your world. You're trying to control what others are thinking about you. You're trying to control the outside world in order for you not to feel so overwhelmed, so anxious, so out of control. And so you're trying to control it so you will feel better, but you can't control this. You don't want people to know that you're a fraud, and you're looking for outside validation. Okay, so let's go to the next thing. So living outside in. So meaning that you are living from the perception that you've got to control this out here in order for you to find peace and happiness and joy and um, calm and love and all those other things inside of you. So this is really draining because everything you do is determined by something outside of you. And so you cannot control what other people think of you or how they feel. You know, a lot of us as young kids, you've had the example. So you know that you've been the perfectionist and you've been a people pleaser and you've done everything somebody has asked you to do. And you did it so well and you were a good girl or a good boy and you had did what they said and all of these things, and they were never happy. They were never satisfied. They never gave you what you needed or wanted. They never gave you, said thank you or appreciated you or saw you or heard you. Again, and we keep looking for those situations in order for that to happen, and it just isn't going to happen. So let's see what living from the outside in gets you, right? It's you put others first and you don't know who you are. And you don't know who you are is because all your attention is out there. How do they want me to be? How can I show up for them? What do they need? How can I take care of them? And then that turns out that you taking care of others is your validation that you're worthy or that you're enough. But if they stop needing you, all of a sudden you're not worthy anymore. So you're putting all of you out there on somebody else. You shrink instead of expand. You limit. You don't matter because you put everybody else above you. You are the one that is abandoning yourself. You are abandoning what your needs, your values, seeing yourself, loving yourself, deeply caring for you as much and seeing yourself as equal with anybody else. You want to be in control or you're out of control. So you feel again that perfectionist, or you're either life is good because you're getting the feedback you need and it's like whoo, it's like, oh, they love me, and the minute something goes wrong or an eyebrow goes up the wrong way or their voice changes, all of a sudden they don't love you. Now things are out of control, right? And that mind goes racing and you start creating all these different feelings in your body, and the shit hits the fan. You feel like a victim and powerless because you are powerless over how these people show up or how the environment is or what the government's doing or what's happening in other places around the world that is affecting you now, all of the things that have been going on. When you put all your energy out there and not here, you become very small and you feel very powerless. And I'm telling you, that you are the power. You are the power for you. And you are huge and expansive. It's learning who you really are and living multidimensionally. So you also sacrifice and abandon yourself. You sacrifice, you give yourself up, you abandon yourself. A lot of us feel abandoned emotionally from our childhood, if not literally abandoned in different ways. And some, physically, emotionally, mentally. So what happens is that because we think then, our fears, that we're not enough, we're not good enough, because if we were good enough and lovable and all those other things, then nobody would ever do that to us. And then that turns us into, okay, so if we are good enough, let's make ourselves good enough, let's understand everything, let's break everything down, let's control, let's learn this, let's do it this way, let's see what's the best way, all these different ways that we attempt to discover how to be even more perfect, so we never have to worry about being unlovable, unworthy, not smart enough, not pretty enough, not rich enough, etc. So healthy enough. So all of those things keep coming in, and they're distractions, and they take you away from knowing you and you honoring and growing and expressing who you are in the world, your truth, what your soul wants, and following your path. Everybody's got their own path. You've got to stay on your own path. Walk your own path. That you're not here to walk anybody else's path. walk yours. And particularly right now in the world today, you need to be on your path, figuring out what is best for you right now, and that will contribute more than you living for other people. You will be helping out the humanity so much more if you do that yourself. All right, let's see what people pleaser. How many of you are people pleasers? How many people have been people pleasers but no longer are? You got to have healthy boundaries, and you do that again for all the other reasons that I just say. You are validation dependent. You are validation dependent. You need the validation from the outside. You need the validation from the work, from your work, from your family, from your friends, from whoever. So you do not feel your own validations. You do not know your own beingness and the power and the blessing that that is, and that nobody can give you that. That's the other thing for you to know. They can give you all of that validation, but until you give it to yourself, you will never feel it. You will never know it as truth. All right, let's see what else. I said that. Oh, also, you can't ask and get what you want. You can't ask and get what you want. And the reason for that is because you don't feel that you can, it's a part of the controlling thing, because it's either you've grown up learning that when you asked and wanted something that it wouldn't come your way, and then that you wouldn't get it, so you stopped asking. Also, it's like you don't want to put people out. You don't want to bother anybody. But here's the thing, you're not here to live alone, and asking for help also on the other side of that is receiving. And that's very important, because not asking for help is in a way a controlling issue. So you're controlling so you don't get any negative feedback or nobody turns you down. And if you don't control, so that way you won't feel bad about yourself if you're turned down, and you're just going to show everybody you're strong and robust and powerful, in your power and your controlling power. But it really, you're not allowing yourself to be vulnerable and open and creative and receive the help or receive information that is so valuable. Receive your own self. And if you can't receive something from somebody else, you're not going to receive again from yourself. So to wrap this up, so you can see how those all go together, it's all intertwined. This is we can discuss things, over and over and over again here in different ways, and hopefully we will. And if you want, join my Patreon group and come in and discuss some of those things on a weekly basis with us. But I wanted you to start observing and watching where are you feeling out of control, right? So looking at, am I living from the outside in? Because if that's, am I in fear? Am I in the perfectionism? Am I living from the past and bringing my past with me? Am I living from the future, what if, and living in that? If you're not living in the now. And it's really important that you live in the now moment, in the present moment, because when you're in that present moment, and you can be free of feeling like you have to control anything other than being presently here, and you can receive information, and you can watch what's going on. There goes my mind. Let's rein in that stallion and come right here, right now. Nothing's happened. I've never been in this moment before. And right now I'm not in danger. There's nothing for me to fear. There's no need for me to be perfect. I'm feeling what's inside of me. And that's the most important thing. And then you will be, so this is you controlling you, this you managing you. If the environment is too much, how can I control my environment? How can I control my environment at home if it's making me feel out of control? Do I have a lot of clutter? Do I have a lot of chaos around me? Do I have a lot of drama people around me? You can then start to release the things that are creating the the out of control energy around you and manage that, but also breathing, meditation, going inside. That's not about me. It's not me, it's them, it's their energy. Right now I'm here. I might feel starting to feel a little overwhelmed. What can I do? I can close my eyes and take some breaths. I can go for a walk. I can be in nature. I can drink some water. I can take a bath. I can listen to music. I can dance. I can move my body. So those are some of the things that you can do, and it's learning to be present in the now, in your most expansive energy, learning who you really are, what you're here to do in the world, and learning to be multidimensional. So you have to quiet all those things and manage those things so you can be that multidimensional being. So you can be intuitive, psychic. So you can travel with your mind and do all the other things. Use your gifts and your talents to move forward in your life. So anyway, this has been a blessing, and until we meet again, leave me questions, join my Patreon, or give me a call for a free session to see if there's a way that we can work together. And love, live, and matter. Take care. Bye.